3 years ago, my father disappeared without a trace. 2 weeks ago, I landed in Seoul with $47 and nowhere to sleep. Tonight, the most dangerous man in the city just bought every dance I have left. The strobe lights cut through the smoke like knives, and I'm suspended mid-leap when I see him. A man in a perfectly tailored black suit, standing completely still while everyone else moves. He's watching me like I'm the only person in the room. Like he's been searching for me his entire life. And that terrifies me more than anything. My name is Jade Lawson, and this is the story of how I fell in love with a monster who knew my secrets before I even told him my name. It started with flashing red and blue lights reflecting off my mother's tears. I was 18, standing in our cramped Seattle apartment while police officers dragged my older brother Derek out in handcuffs. He was screaming that he didn't do it, that someone set him up, that they had the wrong person. But they didn't care. They never do. My mother collapsed against the wall, sobbing so hard I thought she might break. My father had vanished 6 months earlier, just didn't come home from work one day. No note, no explanation, just gone. And now Derek, my brilliant brother who was supposed to go to MIT, was being arrested for drug trafficking. I worked 3 jobs to keep us alive. Morning shift at a coffee shop, afternoons teaching ballet to kids at the community center, nights waiting tables at a restaurant where the manager's hands lingered too long when he handed me my tips. I smiled through it all because we needed the money. My mother's medication alone cost more than our rent. The debt collectors started showing up at 3 in the morning, pounding on our door until the neighbors complained. They left threatening notes, slashed our tires, spray-painted warnings on our building. I was drowning, and no one was coming to save us. Then I saw the audition notice, an international dance program in Seoul, South Korea. Full scholarship, housing included. A chance to escape, to breathe, to become someone other than the girl whose family was cursed. I didn't tell my mother I was leaving until the night before my flight. She cried, but differently this time. Like maybe, just maybe, one of us could still have a future. The flight to Seoul was 17 hours of turbulence and anxiety. I clutched my single suitcase like it contained everything I owned, because it did. Incheon Airport was chaos, a blur of Korean signs I couldn't read, and announcements in a language I didn't understand. I made it through customs, exhausted and disoriented, and went to baggage claim. My suitcase never came. I filed a report with an airline representative who barely looked at me, then stepped outside into the Seoul night. Rain hammered down, turning the city into a watercolor painting of neon and shadows. I tried calling the program coordinator. The number was disconnected. I stood there in the rain, $47 in my pocket and nowhere to go, and I laughed. Actually laughed, because of course this was happening. Of course the universe wasn't done destroying me yet. I found a cheap hostel in Hongdae, the kind of place where the sheets smelled like cigarettes and you could hear everything through the paper-thin walls. I had 3 days before my money ran out completely. I needed work. Fast. That's how I ended up at Club Aria. The club was buried in a basement in Gangnam, down a staircase that smelled like spilled beer and broken dreams. Inside, it was all pulsing bass and bodies pressed too close together. The air was thick with smoke and sweat and desperation. I found the manager, a woman named Ji-sun with bleached blonde hair and a cigarette permanently attached to her lips. "You dance?" she asked, looking me up and down like I was livestock. "Yes." "Contemporary? Hip-hop? What?" "Whatever you need." She laughed, a harsh sound that had no humor in it. "You're good, but you're also desperate. That makes you dangerous. But dangerous sells in this place. Be here tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Don't be late." I wasn't. The first night, I performed on a small raised platform in the corner of the club. The crowd barely noticed me. I danced like I was exorcising demons, pouring every ounce of pain and rage and fear into the movement. My body remembered what my mind wanted to forget. After my set, Ji-sun handed me an envelope with cash. 200,000 won, about $150. You're raw, she said, rough around the edges. But there's something real about you. Come back. I came back every night for 2 weeks, and then, on a Friday night when the club was packed wall to wall, everything changed. I was mid-performance, executing a turn sequence that left me breathless when I felt it. That prickling sensation on the back of your neck when someone's watching you. Really watching you. I stopped mid-spin and saw him. Rion Kwon. I didn't know his name then, but I knew what he was. Dangerous, powerful. The kind of man who made rooms go quiet when he entered. He stood perfectly still while everyone else moved around him like water around a stone. Our eyes locked, and something in my chest constricted. He was tall, maybe 6'1", with sharp features that looked like they'd been carved from marble. His black hair was pushed back from his face, revealing eyes that seemed to see straight through me. He wore a suit that probably cost more than I'd made in my entire life, and he looked at me like I was a puzzle he was determined to solve. The song ended. I couldn't breathe. He moved through the crowd, and people parted for him without even realizing they were doing it. He stopped 2 feet away from me, close enough that I could smell his cologne. Something expensive and dark. You dance like someone who's already dead, he said. His voice was low, controlled, with a slight accent that made my skin prickle. I was still catching my breath, sweat dripping down my spine. And you watch like someone who's afraid of being alive. I don't know why I said it. Maybe because I was exhausted of being afraid, of being careful, of measuring every word. Maybe because something about this man made me want to push back. His jaw tightened. For just a second, his mask slipped, and I saw something that looked like pain flash across his face. 3 performances, he said. Private. Name your price. I'm not for sale. He leaned in, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off his body. Everyone is. You just haven't found your number yet. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. It was heavy stock, completely blank except for a phone number written in gold ink. He placed it on the bar between us. When you realize I'm right, he said, call me. Then he turned and walked away, the crowd swallowing him like he'd never been there at all. I stood there, hands shaking, staring at that card. I flipped it over. On the back, in the same gold ink, one word, soon. That night, I lay in my hostel bed, unable to sleep. I kept thinking about those eyes, that voice, the way he'd looked at me like he already knew everything I was trying to hide. At 4 a.m, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Your mother's hospital bill has been paid in full. You owe me nothing. Yet. My heart stopped. He shouldn't know about my mother. He shouldn't know where I was staying. And he definitely shouldn't have just spent $18,000 on a complete stranger. My hands were shaking as I dialed the number from the card. It rang once. I knew you'd call, he answered. What the hell do you want from me? I was furious, terrified, and something else I couldn't name. There was a pause. When he spoke again, his voice was softer than I expected. To see if you're real. What does that even mean? Meet me, tomorrow night. I'll send a car. I'm not getting in a car with a stranger who's stalking me. Then meet me somewhere public. You choose the location. I should have said no. Every instinct I had screamed that this man was dangerous, that getting involved with him would destroy whatever was left of my life. But I thought about my mother's medical bills, about the debt collectors, about the fact that I had maybe 2 weeks before I was out on the streets. "There's a cafe near Hongik University," I said. "Tomorrow, 6 p.m. I'll be there." He hung up before I could change my mind. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about what kind of man pays a stranger's hospital bills. What kind of man finds you in a city of 10 million people and knows your secrets before you've even introduced yourself? The next evening, I arrived at the cafe 30 minutes early. I picked a table by the window where I could see him coming. I ordered tea I couldn't afford and waited. At exactly 6 p.m., a black Mercedes pulled up to the curb, but Rion didn't get out. Instead, the driver handed me a note through the window. "Change of plans. Get in if you trust me." I should have walked away. I got in the car. We drove through Seoul in silence, the city lights streaking past the tinted windows. I had no idea where we were going, and the driver wouldn't answer my questions. After 20 minutes, we pulled up to a high-rise building in Gangnam. The driver opened my door and gestured towards the entrance. A private elevator was waiting, already programmed to take me to the top floor. The doors opened onto a rooftop greenhouse. I stepped out into another world. The greenhouse was all glass and steel, filled with orchids in every color imaginable. The air was warm and humid, fragrant with flowers. String lights cast everything in a soft golden glow. And in the center of it all stood Rion Kwon. He'd removed his jacket. His white shirt was unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up to his elbows. He looked almost human like this, less like a marble statue, and more like a man who could be hurt. "This is where you bring the girls you've researched?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He turned, and there was genuine surprise in his eyes. "This is where I come when I need to remember I'm not completely broken." He gestured to the orchids around us. "They only bloom once every 3 years. Tomorrow, they'll be gone." Despite everything, despite my fear and my anger, I felt something in my chest soften. I moved closer, reaching out to touch one of the delicate petals. "Why me?" I asked. "There are thousands of dancers in Seoul." He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was haunted. "Because you move like her." I froze. The air in the greenhouse suddenly felt too thick to breathe. "Like who?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a worn photograph. It was creased and faded, like he'd looked at it 1,000 times. He held it out to me. The girl in the photo was mid-leap, captured in that perfect moment of suspension between earth and sky. She had dark hair and delicate features, and when I looked at her face, it was like looking into a mirror. The resemblance was uncanny, terrifying. "Her name was Minji," Rion said quietly. "She was everything I couldn't protect." I took a step back. What happened to her? His jaw clenched, and for a moment I thought he wouldn't answer. "I made a mistake, trusted the wrong person, and she paid for it with her life." Thunder rumbled overhead. Rain started hitting the glass ceiling, turning the greenhouse into a drum. "So what am I?" I demanded. "Some kind of replacement? A do-over so you can feel better about yourself? I don't know." His voice cracked, just slightly. "Maybe. Or maybe I'm trying to prove I'm not the monster who let her die." My phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. A text from an unknown number. "Ask him what he did to her brother." My blood went cold. I showed Rion the message. His expression shuddered immediately, that cold mask snapping back into place. He grabbed my arm, not hard, but urgent. "We need to leave, now." "What? Why?" "Because whoever sent that knows you're here, and if they know that, we're both in danger." Before I could respond, before I could demand answers, the glass above us exploded. Gunfire erupted through the greenhouse. Rion shoved me behind a marble pillar as bullets tore through the orchids, sending petals and glass flying. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This couldn't be happening. Rion had a gun in his hand. I didn't even see him draw it. He pressed something in his ear, his voice cold and lethal. "We have a breach. Extract team to position 3. "What's happening?" I shouted over the chaos. "They found you." His eyes met mine. "Because I was careless." Armed men in tactical gear stormed in through the rooftop door. Rion moved with brutal efficiency, taking down 3 of them in seconds. No wasted movement, just precise, calculated violence. But there were too many. One of them grabbed me from behind, yanking me away from the pillar. I felt cold steel against my throat, a knife. "The strategist finally has a weakness," the man holding me said. How poetic. Rion froze. His gun was raised, aimed at my attacker, but his hands were shaking. "Drop it," the man said, pressing the knife harder against my skin. "Or watch another one die because of you." For the first time since I'd met him, I saw genuine fear in Rion's eyes. But I wasn't Minji. And I wasn't going to die in some greenhouse because a man couldn't let go of his guilt. I met Rion's gaze and mouthed one word: "Don't." Then I slammed my head backward into my attacker's face. I felt his nose crunch, felt his grip loosen. I dropped, rolling away just as Rion fired. The man collapsed. Silence fell, broken only by the rain hammering on what was left of the glass ceiling. Rion stared at me like he was seeing a ghost. "She did that too," he whispered. Right before... He couldn't finish the sentence. But I saw it in his eyes. The guilt. The trauma. The moment that had broken him. "Before what?" I demanded. But he just shook his head and reached for my hand. "We have to go." He pulled me toward the elevator. As the doors closed, I caught a glimpse of the greenhouse. Destroyed, covered in glass and blood and ruined flowers. Everything beautiful turned to wreckage. The elevator descended in silence. Rion's hand was still wrapped around mine, and I realized he was shaking. "Who are you?" I asked. "And don't lie to me. Not after that." He took a breath. "My name is Rion Kwon. I'm a strategist for the Meridian Syndicate. I don't run the organization, but I'm the one who makes sure it keeps running. Information, operations, strategy. I'm the mind behind it all." "A criminal organization?" "Yes. And those men? Rivals. They've been trying to find a weakness, something they could use against me." His jaw tightened. "I gave them one. You." The elevator reached the ground floor. Another black car was waiting, engine running. Rion opened the door for me. "Get in. Maybe I should just go home. Back to Seattle. This isn't my problem." He looked at me then. Really looked at me. And there was so much pain in his eyes it almost hurt to witness. "You're right. You should leave. Being near me destroys people." He stepped back. "Leave now, and I won't follow. I'll make sure you're safe, that your family is taken care of, and I'll never contact you again." It was the smart choice, the sane choice. But I saw the cracks in him, the loneliness, the guilt, the desperate need to believe he could still be something other than a monster. And against every instinct screaming at me to run, I got in the car. We drove to a safe house in Itaewon. It was a penthouse apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Minimalist furniture. Abstract art on the walls. The kind of place that looked expensive but felt empty. Rion poured himself a drink. Whiskey, neat, and stood at the window, his back to me. "You should clean up," he said. "There's clothes in the bedroom, first door on the right. Take whatever you need." I didn't move. "Tell me about Minji." His shoulders tensed. "That's not a conversation for tonight." "When then? After the next attack? After someone else tries to kill me because of you?" He turned slowly. There was fury in his eyes, but underneath it, raw grief. You want to know about Minji? Fine, she was 17, a dancer like you. She had this laugh that could light up a room, and she believed in people even when they didn't deserve it. His voice dropped. She believed in me. What happened? I was 23, still new to the syndicate. I thought I was smart, thought I had everything figured out. There was a rival organization trying to muscle in on our territory. They sent a man to negotiate, someone I thought was reasonable. I trusted him. He took a drink, his hand white-knuckled around the glass. Minji was my assistant's younger sister. She'd come to the office sometimes, bringing him lunch. She was there the day everything went wrong. He closed his eyes. They took her to get to me. Said they'd let her go if we backed off, gave them what they wanted. I tried to negotiate, tried to find another way. I was so sure I could outsmart them. But you couldn't. I found her 3 days later in an abandoned warehouse. He stopped, swallowing hard. I was too late. And her brother, my assistant, he blamed me. Rightfully so. He joined the rival organization to destroy me from the inside. The pain in his voice was so raw, it made my chest ache. Is that why you found me? Because I look like her? At first, maybe. I saw you dancing, and for a moment I thought... He laughed bitterly. I don't know what I thought. That I could rewrite history? Save someone this time? But then I watched you actually dance, heard you speak, and you're nothing like her. You fight where she would have hoped. You survive where she would have trusted. He set down his drink and crossed the room to stand in front of me. You asked what I want from you. Honestly, I don't know anymore. Maybe I wanted redemption. Maybe I wanted to prove I could keep someone alive this time. Or maybe... He reached out, his fingers barely brushing my cheek. Maybe I just wanted to remember what it feels like to care about someone. The air between us was charged, electric. I could feel the heat radiating off his body, could see the pulse hammering in his throat. This is a bad idea, I whispered. Terrible, he agreed. But neither of us moved away. My phone buzzed again, shattering the moment. Another text. He's lying about Minji. Ask him where her brother is now. I showed Rion the message. His expression darkened immediately. Who keeps texting you? I don't know, but they seem to know a lot about you. Before he could respond, his own phone rang. He answered it, listened for a moment, then his face went pale. How many? He asked. Then, lock down everything. I'm on my way. He hung up and looked at me. The safe house has been compromised. We have maybe 10 minutes before they find us. Who? The same people who took Minji. The same people who've been trying to destroy me for 5 years. He grabbed a laptop from the desk and handed it to me. Can you use this? What? Can you use it? Basic computer skills? Yes, but... Good. You're going to need to stay in contact with my team. We're going to a more secure location. But we have to move now. We took the service elevator down to the parking garage. Rion moved like a predator, scanning every shadow, every corner. He had his gun drawn, safety off. A black SUV was waiting for us. As soon as we got in, it peeled out of the garage. Where are we going? I asked. Somewhere they won't think to look. Somewhere from my old life before all of this. We drove for 40 minutes, leaving the city behind. The roads got narrower, darker. Finally, we pulled up to a small house at the edge of Bukhansan National Park. It looked abandoned, paint peeling, garden overgrown. But inside, it was different. The house was sparse, but clean. There were books on the shelves, a guitar in the corner, photos on the walls of a younger Rion with people I didn't recognize. This was my grandfather's house, he said quietly. He raised me after my parents died. He was the only person who ever believed I could be more than what the streets made me. I picked up one of the photos. Young Rion, maybe 16, smiling. Actually smiling. What happened to him? Cancer. 5 years ago. He took the photo from me gently. He died believing I'd gotten out, that I was working a legitimate job in Seoul. I never told him the truth. Why not? Because he looked at me like I was something worth saving. And I couldn't stand to see that dye in his eyes. He set the photo down and turned to me. You should get some rest. It's been a long night. But I wasn't tired. I was wired, adrenaline still coursing through my veins. I can't sleep. Not after all of that. Then I'll make tea. I followed him to the small kitchen. He moved around the space with surprising ease, filling a kettle, finding cups and tea bags in cabinets that clearly hadn't been opened in months. You come here often? I asked. When I need to remember who I was before I became this. He gestured vaguely at himself. The strategist. The monster. You're not a monster. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. You saw me tonight, Jade. I killed 3 men without hesitation. That's not normal. That's not human. You were protecting me. I was protecting myself, he corrected. You just happened to be there? The kettle whistled. He poured hot water over the tea bags, the steam rising between us. Why do you do it? I asked. If you hate what you've become, why stay in that world? Because I'm good at it. Because I owe debts I can never repay. Because... He paused, stirring honey into one of the cups. Because if I stop, if I walk away, then everything I've done means nothing. All the blood on my hands was for nothing. That's not a reason. That's an excuse. His eyes snapped to mine, sharp and dangerous. You don't know anything about my life, about the choices I've had to make. You're right. I don't. But I know about running, about convincing yourself that you're trapped, when really, you're just too afraid to try something different. This isn't the same, isn't it? We stared at each other across the kitchen, tension crackling in the air. Then his phone rang again. He answered it, his expression growing darker with every second. When he hung up, he looked at me with something that might have been regret. They found your mother. My heart stopped. What? The rival organization. They have people in Seattle. They've been watching her since I paid her medical bills. No. She's safe, he said quickly. I have a team there protecting her, but they're demanding a trade. What kind of trade? He met my eyes. You for her safety, and mine. The world tilted. They want me to hand you over, or they kill your mother and launch a full-scale attack on the syndicate. I couldn't breathe. So what are you going to do? I'm going to get you out of the country, tonight. I have contacts who can get you new papers, a new identity. You'll go somewhere they can't find you. And my mother? I'll handle it. How? I'll give them what they want. He said it so calmly, like he was discussing the weather. Me? That's insane. They'll kill you. Probably. But your mother will be safe. You'll be safe. And the syndicate will survive. I grabbed his arm. There has to be another way. There isn't. This is what I do, Jade. I calculate odds, analyze risks, and make the hard calls. And right now, the math is clear. I won't let you die for me. You don't get a choice. His voice was gentle but firm. I've made enough mistakes. Let me get this one right. My mind was racing, searching for another option, another play. Then it hit me. What if we give them what they want? I said slowly. I just said, not you, me. I met his eyes. What if I go willingly? What if we make them think they've won? Absolutely not. Listen to me. You said you're a strategist, right? So strategize. They want leverage over you. They want to break you. But what if we turn it around? What if we make them think they have the power, and then we flip the script? I could see his mind working, considering the angles. It's too dangerous. More dangerous than you walking into a trap? At least this way, we both have a chance. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, what exactly are you proposing? We spent the next hour planning. Rion called in his team, pulling up blueprints and surveillance footage on his laptop. The rival organization wanted the exchange to happen at an abandoned shipyard in Incheon. Isolated, easy to control. But that also meant limited exit points, predictable sightlines. I can have snipers on the surrounding buildings, Rion said, pointing to the map. But they'll be scanning for that. They'll have countermeasures. What about inside? I asked. If I'm wearing a wire, you can hear everything. You'll know exactly where everyone is positioned. They'll search you. Then make it something they won't find, something small. One of Ryan's tech specialists, a woman named Min Hee, who looked like she was about 19, held up a tiny device. GPS tracker. Looks like a filling. We can put it in your molar. They'd have to do a full dental x-ray to find it. I swallowed hard. Do it. Rion grabbed my hand. Jade, you don't have to do this. Yes, I do, because you were right about one thing. I do know about running, and I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being afraid, of letting other people make my choices for me. I squeezed his hand. Let me choose this. Let me help. He looked at me like he wanted to argue, to protect me, to lock me away somewhere safe. But finally he nodded. Okay, but we do this my way. You follow my instructions exactly. And if anything goes wrong, if I give you the signal, you run. You don't look back, you don't try to help. You run? Understood? Understood. Min-hee installed the tracker. It felt weird, having a foreign object in my mouth, but she assured me I'd get used to it in a few hours. We had 6 hours until the exchange. Rion sent everyone else away to prep. Suddenly, we were alone in his grandfather's house, and the weight of what we were about to do settled over us like a blanket. You should try to sleep, he said. You'll need your strength. But I couldn't imagine sleeping. Not now. Not when everything felt like it was balanced on a knife's edge. Will you tell me something? I asked. What? The truth about Minji's brother. The text said you were lying. Rion sighed and sat down on the worn couch. I sat beside him, close enough that our knees touched. His name was Minho, he said quietly. He was my best friend. We grew up together, joined the syndicate together. I promised him I'd keep his sister safe. His voice cracked. I broke that promise. And after she died, he tried to kill me. Tried? I couldn't fight back. I just stood there, let him beat me bloody. I wanted him to kill me. Thought it would make things even. He touched his ribs absently, like he could still feel the broken bones. But he stopped. Looked at me and said, "Death would be mercy. You don't deserve mercy." Where is he now? Leading the rival organization. He's the one who orchestrated all of this. The attacks, the threats, finding you. He's been planning this for 5 years. So this isn't just about power, it's personal. It's always been personal. Rion turned to look at me. That's why you need to understand. He won't hesitate to hurt you to get to me. He's not going to negotiate or show mercy. If something goes wrong tomorrow, I cut him off by pressing my fingers to his lips. Then we make sure nothing goes wrong. His hand came up to cover mine. His eyes were dark, intense, searching my face like he was trying to memorize it. "Why are you doing this?" he whispered. "You don't owe me anything. You should hate me for dragging you into this. Maybe I should, but I don't." I couldn't explain it, couldn't put into words why this broken, dangerous man made me feel safer than I'd felt in years. You saw me, Rion, really saw me. Not what I could do for you or what I could give you, just me. something in his expression cracked open. He leaned forward slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His lips brushed mine, soft and tentative, like he was afraid I'd disappear. I kissed him back, threading my fingers through his hair, pulling him closer. The kiss deepened, became more urgent. His hand slid to my waist, pulling me onto his lap. I could feel his heart hammering against my chest, could taste whiskey and desperation on his tongue. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to mine. "If I lose you tomorrow," he started, "you won't. But if I do, then you'll mourn me and move on and try to be something other than this. Promise me." He didn't promise. He just kissed me again, and we stayed like that until the sun started to rise, holding on to each other like we could stop time through sheer force of will. At 9 a.m., we got the call. The exchange was set for noon. Rion's team arrived, 6 men and women, all armed, all moving with the kind of efficiency that came from years of working together. They did a final equipment check, went over the plan one more time. Min-hee tested the tracker. "Signal's strong. We'll be able to follow you anywhere." Rion pulled me aside while the team loaded into vehicles. "Last chance to back out," he said. "Not a chance." He pulled something from his pocket, a small knife in a slim sheath. "Keep this in your boot. If they find it, play dumb. Say you forgot it was there." I slipped it into my boot, feeling the weight of it against my ankle. "And this." He pressed a burner phone into my hand. "One number programmed. If everything goes to hell, if we get separated, you call it, someone will come get you. Rion, I need to know you'll be okay. That even if I'm not there, you'll survive this." I cupped his face in my hands. "We're both going to be okay. This is going to work." He kissed me one more time, slow and deep and desperate. Then we got in the cars and drove toward the shipyard. The drive felt both too long and too short. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. Rion sat beside me in the back seat, his hand wrapped around mine, neither of us speaking. As we got closer to Incheon, he finally broke the silence. "Whatever happens in there, whatever you see or hear, remember that you're stronger than you think. You survived Seattle. You survived coming here with nothing. You'll survive this." "We'll survive this," I corrected. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We pulled up to the shipyard 15 minutes before noon. It was exactly as desolate as I'd imagined. Rusted cranes looming against a gray sky, abandoned containers stacked like building blocks, broken glass crunching under our tires. Rion's team took up positions in the surrounding area. I could see them moving through the shadows, ghosts in tactical gear. Min-hee checked the tracker one more time. "You're live. We can hear everything." Rion and I got out of the car. The wind whipped my hair around my face, bringing the smell of salt and decay. "Stay behind me until I give the signal," he said quietly. "And remember, you run when I tell you to run." We walked into the heart of the shipyard. They were waiting for us. A group of about 20 men, all armed, all watching us with predatory focus. And in the center of them, tied to a chair with blood on his face, was Rion. Wait. No. That didn't make sense. I looked at the man beside me, then at the man in the chair. "Surprised?" a voice called out. A man stepped forward from the shadows. He was tall, lean, with sharp features and eyes that burned with hatred. He was holding a file. "Hello, Rion," he said. "It's been a long time." "Min-ho." The man, Min-ho, smiled, but it was a terrible thing. "Did you really think I didn't know about your little doppelganger routine? That I didn't know you'd send a double?" The man in the chair, the fake Rion, smiled through his split lip. He was good. Really good. But up close I could see the differences. "I should have known you'd plan for that," Rion said calmly. "You always were thorough. I learned from the best." Min-ho's eyes slid to me. "And you must be Jade Lawson." The girl who looks like my sister. The girl who brought the great Rion Kwon to his knees. I don't know what you're talking about, I said, proud that my voice didn't shake. Don't you? He walked closer, holding out the file. Jade Lawson, age 21, born in Seattle to Marcus and Elena Lawson. Brother Derek, currently serving time for drug trafficking. Father disappeared 3 years ago under mysterious circumstances. He threw the file at my feet. Photos spilled out. My father in Seoul, shaking hands with men in expensive suits. My father entering buildings I recognized from Ryan's surveillance photos. My father was part of this world. Your father didn't vanish, sweetheart, Minho said, his voice almost gentle. He was executed by the Meridian Syndicate for stealing from them. The world tilted. I couldn't breathe. And the man protecting you? Minho gestured to Rion. He's the one who gave the order. I looked at Rion, waiting for him to deny it, to tell me it was a lie, but he didn't. His face was expressionless, but his eyes were full of guilt. Is it true? I whispered. He opened his mouth, but before he could speak, Minho laughed. Oh, this is better than I imagined. She doesn't even know. Tell her, Rion. Tell her how you personally put a bullet in her father's head. Jade. Rion started, but I couldn't hear him over the roaring in my ears. My father. Dead. Killed by the man I'd been falling for. And I'd never even known. The best part? Minho continued, clearly enjoying himself. Your brother didn't do anything wrong. We framed him, planted the drugs, fed evidence to the police, all to make sure you were desperate enough to run. Desperate enough that when Rion found you, when he offered to help, you'd fall right into his arms. He leaned in close, his breath hot on my face. This has all been a game, Jade, and you're the prize he's been trying to win to ease his guilty conscience. I looked at Rion, really looked at him. Tell me he's lying, I said. Tell me my father is alive, that you didn't kill him, that this whole thing wasn't just you manipulating me. Rion's jaw was clenched so tight I thought it might break. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper. I can't. And that's when I realized I'd been wrong about everything. The man I thought was saving me was actually the one who destroyed my life. And I'd walked right into his trap. If you're hooked on Jade and Rion's twisted story, drop a like and subscribe. Because part 2 is where everything explodes. Trust me, you're not ready for what happens next. The dancer he can't forget, part 2. 3 words kept echoing in my head. I can't. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The world had narrowed to that moment. Rion's guilty eyes, Minho's triumphant smile, and the photos of my dead father scattered at my feet. My father. Dead. Because of the man standing next to me. Jade? Rion reached for me. I jerked away from him like his touch burned. Don't you dare touch me. Let me explain. Explain what? My voice came out strangled. How you murdered my father, how you framed my brother, how you manipulated me into trusting you. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Rion? Enlighten me. Minho was watching us with sick satisfaction. This is even better than I planned. Watching you break her heart, just like you broke my sister's. Rion's hand moved toward his gun, but Minho's men raised their weapons immediately. I wouldn't, Minho said pleasantly. My men have orders to shoot her first if you try anything. And we both know you can't live with another death on your conscience. Rion's hand stilled. Smart, Minho said. Now, here's what's going to happen. Jade is coming with me. You're going to watch her walk away, knowing she hates you, knowing you destroyed another innocent life. And then, he smiled. Then I'm going to kill everyone you care about, piece by piece, until there's nothing left of you but guilt and regret. The Meridian Syndicate won't let you. The Meridian Syndicate thinks you've gone rogue. They think you've been skimming funds. making unauthorized deals, letting your obsession with this girl compromise operations. Minho pulled out his phone, showing Rion a series of documents. I've been feeding them evidence for months. Right now, they're voting on whether to sanction you. Sanction. In syndicate terms, that meant assassination. Ryan's face went pale. So you see, you're already dead. You just don't know it yet. Minho turned to me. Come on, Jade, let's go. I looked at Rion one more time. This man who'd killed my father, who'd manipulated me, who'd made me care about him. And I saw something in his eyes that stopped me. It wasn't guilt. It was resignation. Like he'd always known this moment would come. Like he'd been waiting for someone to finally see him for the monster he believed he was. Minho grabbed my arm, pulling me toward his men. And I realized something. This was exactly what Minho wanted. He didn't just want Rion dead, he wanted him broken first. Wanted him to suffer the same way Minho had suffered when his sister died. I thought about Minji, about how she'd believed in people even when they didn't deserve it. I thought about my father, who'd gotten involved in a world he didn't understand, and paid the ultimate price. I thought about my brother, rotting in prison for a crime he didn't commit, and I made a choice. Wait, I said. Minho stopped. What? I'll go with you, but first I want to hear it from him. I want Rion to tell me exactly what happened to my father. Jade, don't... Rion started. Tell me, I demanded. If you ever had any shred of honesty, tell me the truth. All of it. Rion looked at me for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Your father was a financial analyst, he began. He got hired by a shell company that was actually a front for the Meridian Syndicate. He didn't know what he was getting into. He was just doing his job, managing accounts, processing transactions. I felt sick, but I kept my expression neutral. He started noticing irregularities, money moving in patterns that didn't make sense. He was good at his job, too good. He figured out what was really going on. Ryan's voice was flat, emotionless. He should have walked away. Should have quit and forgotten everything he'd seen, but he didn't. What did he do? He tried to report it, went to the FBI, gave them everything he'd found. But we have people everywhere, Jade. We found out within hours. My hands were shaking. I clenched them into fists. The syndicate wanted him eliminated immediately, but He paused. I suggested we offer him a deal. Keep quiet, take a payout, disappear. He could have lived, but he didn't take it. No. He said he couldn't live with himself if he stayed silent. Said he had a family, children, and he wanted to be someone they could be proud of. Ryan's voice cracked slightly. I tried to convince him, spent hours arguing with him, but he wouldn't budge. So you killed him. The syndicate ordered his execution. If I refused, they would have sent someone else. Someone who wouldn't have made it quick. Someone who would have made him suffer. He met my eyes. I pulled the trigger because it was the kindest option available. The kindest option. Like that made it better. And you knew, I said slowly, when you saw me dancing, when you approached me. You knew exactly who I was. Yes. The hospital bills, the help, all of it was guilt. Yes. And Minji? Was she even real? Or was that just another manipulation? She was real, Minho interjected. And she died because of him. Just like your father did. Just like everyone who gets close to Rion Kwon eventually dies. I looked between them. These two men who were destroying each other over past sins, dragging innocent people into their vendetta. And I realized something else. This wasn't about me. It had never been about me. I was just a chess piece in a game that started 5 years ago when Minji died. You're both pathetic, I said. They both stared at me. You, I pointed at Minho. are so obsessed with revenge that you've become exactly like the people who killed your sister. You framed my brother. You threatened my mother. You're willing to kill innocent people just to make Rion suffer. Minho's expression darkened. And you, I turned to Rion, are so drowning in guilt that you can't see any way forward except more death. You think if you save me, it'll make up for everyone you couldn't save. But it won't. Nothing will. Jade, Rion started. I'm not finished. I took a deep breath. My father made his choice. He knew the risks and he took them anyway because he believed in something. And yes, it got him killed. But he died on his feet, not on his knees. I looked at Minho. Your sister believed in people. Would she want this? Would she want you to become a monster in her name? Don't you dare talk about my sister. Someone needs to, I shouted, because you've turned her into an excuse, a reason to justify every terrible thing you do. But I bet she was more than that. I bet she was kind and hopeful and everything you're not anymore. Minho's hand twitched toward his gun. Go ahead, I said. Shoot me. Prove that you're exactly what Rion says you are, a monster wearing a victim's face. The shipyard was silent except for the wind whistling through the metal structures. Then Minho laughed. It was a hollow, broken sound. You know what the worst part is? He said. You're right. Minji would hate what I've become. She'd hate all of this. He lowered his gun. But I can't stop. Because if I stop, if I let go of this anger, then I have to face the fact that she's really gone. That nothing I do will bring her back. So what? I asked softly. You're going to keep destroying lives until someone finally puts you down? That's not justice. That's not even revenge. That's just sad. Minho's men were shifting uncomfortably, exchanging glances. They'd signed up to follow a leader, not watch him have an existential crisis. Rion was watching me like he'd never seen me before. What do you want, Jade? Minho asked finally. What could possibly fix any of this? I thought about my father, my brother, my mother. All the lives that had been broken by this endless cycle of violence and revenge. I want the truth, I said. I want evidence that proves my brother was framed. I want him out of prison, and I want all of you, I gestured to both Rion and Minho, to stop using dead people as excuses for the terrible things you do. That's not how this works, Minho started. Then change how it works. I was shaking now, adrenaline and fear and fury coursing through me. You're both so powerful, so smart, so strategic. Use those skills for something other than destroying each other. You're naive, Minho said. This world doesn't work like that. Maybe it should. Rion stepped forward. I can get the evidence for your brother. It'll take time, but I can do it. In exchange for what? Minho demanded. Nothing, Rion said quietly. I owe her that much. Minho stared at him. You really care about her? Yes. Even knowing she'll never forgive you for killing her father? Yes. Something passed between them then. An understanding, maybe. A shared recognition of what it meant to love someone you'd already lost. I should kill you both right now, Minho said. But there was no conviction in his voice. You should, Rion agreed. But you won't. Because despite everything, you're not actually a killer. You're just a kid whose sister died, and you never learned how to grieve. Minho's jaw clenched. Don't psychoanalyze me. Then prove me wrong. Make a different choice. Be someone your sister would have been proud of. The tension in the air was suffocating. Minho's men were watching their leader, waiting for orders. Rion's team was positioned around the perimeter, waiting for a signal. One wrong word, one wrong move, and everyone here would die. I need to think, Minho said finally. He looked at me. You're free to go. But understand, this isn't over. I've spent 5 years planning this. I can't just let it go. I'm not asking you to let it go, I said. I'm asking you to choose something other than revenge. He didn't respond. He just gestured to his men, and they started pulling back. Within minutes, the shipyard was empty, except for Rion, his team, and me. Rion approached slowly, like I was a wild animal that might bolt. Are you okay? He asked. I almost laughed. Am I okay? You killed my father, and you're asking if I'm okay? Fair point. We stood there in the wreckage of the shipyard, surrounded by rust and broken glass and the ghosts of all the terrible choices that had brought us here. I should hate you, I said. You should. I should want you dead. You should. But I don't. The admission felt like swallowing glass, and I hate myself for that. Rion reached out carefully, giving me time to pull away. When I didn't, he tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. For what it's worth, he said quietly, I'm sorry. Not just about your father, but about all of it. You deserved better than to get dragged into this mess. Sorry doesn't bring him back. No, it doesn't. I wanted to scream at him, to hit him, to make him hurt the way I was hurting. But I was so tired. Tired of running, tired of fighting, tired of carrying the weight of other people's mistakes. What happens now? I asked. Now, I get the evidence to free your brother. I'll have it within a week. And then? Then you go home. Back to Seattle, back to your mother, back to your life. And you forget any of this ever happened. That's not realistic. No, he agreed. But it's what you should do. What about you? You heard Minho. The syndicate thinks you've gone rogue. I'll handle it. How? He smiled, but it was a sad thing. The same way I always handle things, with strategy and sacrifice. I grabbed his arm. You're going to get yourself killed. Probably. Rion. Jade. He cupped my face in his hands. You were right about everything. I've been using guilt as an excuse, Minji's death as a reason to keep doing terrible things. But seeing you stand up to Minho, watching you demand something better. His voice cracked. Maybe there's still hope. Not for me, but for people like you who still believe the world can be better. Don't talk like you're already dead. I've been dead for 5 years. I'm just finally admitting it. He kissed me then, soft and gentle and final. It tasted like goodbye. When he pulled back, there were tears on my face. Min-hee will take you back to the city, he said. She'll make sure you get on a flight home. I'm not leaving. Jade, I'm not leaving, I repeated. You said you'd get evidence to free my brother. I'm staying until that happens. And then, I took a deep breath. Then we'll figure out what comes next. He looked like he wanted to argue, but finally he just nodded. Okay, 1 week. But you stay at the safe house, you don't go anywhere without security, and you do exactly what I tell you. Fine. We drove back to the safe house in silence. Rion's team was tense, jumping at every sound. They'd heard everything that happened at the shipyard, knew their boss had just been outed as a rogue agent. When we arrived, Rion immediately got on the phone, calling in favors, moving pieces into place. I watched him work, saw the strategist in action. He was brilliant, terrifying, and completely broken. That night, while Rion was locked in his office making calls, Min-hee approached me. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. Why did you stay? After everything you found out, why didn't you run? I thought about it. Because running doesn't solve anything. It just means the problem follows you. That's surprisingly mature for someone who just found out their father was executed. Yeah, well, I've had a lot of practice dealing with terrible news. She smiled slightly. He cares about you, you know. Rion. I've worked for him for 3 years, and I've never seen him like this. Usually, he's ice cold. calculating. But with you, she shook her head. With you, he's human. I'm not sure that's a good thing. Maybe not, but it's something. Over the next few days, I watched Rion work. He barely slept, barely ate. He was pulling strings, gathering evidence, preparing for what he kept calling the end game. On the third night, he finally emerged from his office with a file. "I have it," he said. "Everything needed to exonerate your brother. Phone records, financial transactions, witness statements. It's all here." I took the file with shaking hands. "How?" Min-ho kept meticulous records. He wanted proof of what he'd done, probably to eventually use against the syndicate. I had to call in every favor I had, but I got it. "What did it cost you?" He didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Thank you," I said quietly. "Don't thank me. I'm just trying to fix a tiny fraction of the damage I've caused." I wanted to comfort him, to tell him it mattered, but I couldn't. Not yet. The next day, Ryan's lawyer delivered the evidence to the authorities. Within hours, news broke that Jade Lawson's case was being reopened. By evening, the charges were dropped. My brother was free. I called my mother from Ryan's secure line. "Jade?" Her voice was hoarse, like she'd been crying. "Baby, is that you?" "It's me, Mom. Derek's coming home. They're releasing him." "I don't understand. What happened?" "It's complicated. I'll explain everything when I get back." "When are you coming home?" I looked at Rion, who was watching me from across the room. "Soon," I said. "I promise." After I hung up, Rion handed me a plane ticket. "Tomorrow morning," he said. "First class to Seattle. There'll be a car waiting to take you to your mother. What about you?" "I have something I need to finish." "Rion, the syndicate is meeting tomorrow night. They're voting on my sanction." He said it calmly, like he was discussing the weather. "I'm going to give them what they want." "You're going to let them kill you?" "I'm going to confess. Tell them everything. About going rogue, about the money I've been moving, about you. And then I'm going to resign. They won't let you just walk away." "No. They probably won't." He smiled sadly. "But at least I'll die on my feet, not on my knees. Your father taught me that." The mention of my father made my chest ache. "I can't watch you commit suicide," I said. "You won't. You'll be on a plane back to your family, where you belong." "And if I don't want to go?" "Jade." He crossed the room, taking my hands in his. "You've already given me more than I deserve. You stood up for me when I didn't deserve defending. You saw something in me worth saving, even after learning what I'd done. That's more than I ever hoped for." "So that's it? You're just giving up?" "I'm choosing how my story ends. There's a difference. I wanted to argue, to fight, to find some clever solution that would save everyone. But I was so tired of fighting." "What if I asked you not to go?" I said quietly. "What if I asked you to run away with me, to leave all of this behind and just disappear?" He touched my face gently. "I would say that you deserve someone who can give you a real life. Someone who isn't haunted by the ghosts of everyone he's killed. Someone who can love you without all this baggage. What if I don't want someone else?" "Then you're making a mistake, but..." He leaned in, pressing his forehead to mine. "But I'm selfish enough to be grateful for it anyway." We spent that night tangled together in his bed, pretending the morning would never come. His touch was reverent, desperate, like he was trying to memorize every inch of me. "Tell me about your life before all this," I whispered in the dark. "Before the syndicate, before everything went wrong." He was quiet for a long moment. "I wanted to be a teacher, history specifically. I loved reading about different civilizations, how they rose and fell, how people made choices that echoed through centuries." "What happened?" My parents died when I was 15. Car accident. Suddenly, I was an orphan with no money and no prospects. My grandfather took me in, but he was barely scraping by himself. Rion's fingers traced patterns on my skin. I started running. Errands for local gangs. Just small stuff at first. Delivering packages, keeping watch. But I was good at it. Smart. They noticed. And you climbed the ranks. More like fell into them. Each step seemed logical at the time, necessary. By the time I realized what I'd become, it was too late to go back. It's never too late. Isn't it? He pulled me closer. I've killed people, Jade. Not just your father. Dozens of people over the years. I've destroyed lives, broken families, done things that keep me awake at night. How do you come back from that? I don't know. But giving up isn't the answer. Maybe not. But sometimes the kindest thing a monster can do is remove himself from the world. I wanted to argue, but I didn't have the words. Instead, I kissed him, trying to pour everything I couldn't say into that one gesture. He kissed me back, like I was oxygen, and he was drowning. When morning came, I pretended to be asleep while he got dressed. I felt him kiss my forehead, heard him whisper something I couldn't quite make out. Then he was gone. I waited 10 minutes before getting up and getting dressed. Min-hee was waiting in the living room. He told me to make sure you got on that plane, she said. I know. But you're not going, are you? Would you? If it was someone you cared about walking into certain death? She considered this. No, I suppose I wouldn't. Then help me. He'll kill me if anything happens to you. He'll be dead, so that's not really a concern. She laughed despite herself. Fair point. What's your plan? I don't have one yet, but I know where the syndicate is meeting, right? The Lotus Club. It's their main headquarters. Can you get me in? Are you insane? That place is fortress. They'll have metal detectors, security, the works. There has to be a way. Min-hee studied me for a long moment. Then she sighed. There's a service entrance. The syndicate uses it for discreet meetings. If we time it right, if we're very lucky, we might be able to sneak you in. Then let's do it. She handed me a black dress. You'll need to look the part. And Jade? If this goes wrong, if they catch us, they'll kill us both. I know. And you're still willing to risk it? For him? I thought about Rion, broken, guilty, convinced he was beyond redemption. I thought about my father, who died standing up for what he believed in. I thought about Min-ji, who'd believed in people even when they didn't deserve it. Yes, I said. I'm willing to risk it. We spent the day preparing. Min-hee hacked into the Lotus Club security system, mapping out guard rotations and camera blind spots. She created a fake service badge with my photo. This will get you past the first checkpoint, she said. But after that, you're on your own. What about you? I'll be in the van outside, monitoring communications. If anything goes wrong, I'll try to create a distraction. At 8 p.m., we drove to the club. It was in the heart of Gangnam, disguised as an upscale restaurant. Luxury cars lined the street. Men in expensive suits filtered inside. The meeting is on the 3rd floor, Min-hee said. Conference room C. You have 30 minutes before it starts. I nodded, my heart hammering. Jade, she grabbed my arm. What Rion did, killing your father, it was unforgivable. You know that, right? You don't owe him anything. I know. Then why are you doing this? I thought about it. Because he's not just the worst thing he's ever done. And someone needs to remind him of that. I got out of the van and walked toward the service entrance. The guard barely glanced at my badge before waving me through. I was just another faceless server, invisible in my black dress. I made it to the 3rd floor using the service stairs. The hallway was plush, decorated with expensive art and thick carpet that muffled my footsteps. I could hear voices from conference room C. I pressed myself against the wall outside, listening. Complete breach of protocol, someone was saying. He's been moving funds without authorization, making deals behind our backs. The man has gone rogue. We gave him authority to operate independently. That was Rion's voice. Calm. Controlled. Everything I did was within the scope of my position. Everything except the girl. A new voice, harsh. You got emotionally compromised. Started making decisions based on guilt instead of strategy. That makes you a liability. I acknowledge that. Silence. Then, you acknowledge it? Yes, I've allowed personal feelings to cloud my judgment. I'm no longer fit to serve as strategist. So you're resigning? I am. And you think that's enough? The harsh voice again. You think you can just walk away after everything you know? After 5 years of being inside the deepest levels of our organization? I would never compromise the syndicate. You have my word. Someone laughed. Your word? Your word means nothing anymore, Kwon. The only question now is whether we let you walk out of here, or whether we carry you out in a bag. My blood went cold. I burst through the door. Every face in the room turned toward me. There were 6 men seated around a conference table, all of them powerful, dangerous, and at the head of the table stood Rion. His face went pale when he saw me. Jade, he said quietly. What are you doing here? Stopping you from being an idiot. One of the men, elderly, with silver hair and cold eyes, smiled slightly. And who might you be? I'm Jade Lawson. My father was Marcus Lawson. Rion Kwon killed him 3 years ago. The room went silent. Is this true? The silver-haired man looked at Rion. Yes, Rion said. Interesting. And yet here you are defending him. Why? I took a deep breath. Because he's the best strategist you've ever had. Because even when he makes mistakes, he does it trying to do the right thing. And because if you kill him tonight, you're proving that this organization values revenge over pragmatism. Bold words for someone who shouldn't even be in this room. Bold, maybe, but true. I stepped closer to the table. Rion has served this syndicate for 10 years. He's made you millions, kept you out of prison, outmaneuvered every rival organization in Seoul. And yes, he got emotionally compromised. He made mistakes. But show me one person in this room who hasn't. The silver-haired man leaned back in his chair. You make a compelling argument, but it doesn't change the fact that he's a security risk. Then let him prove he's not. Give him a chance to earn back your trust. And if he fails, then kill him. But at least give him the opportunity to try. Rion grabbed my arm. Jade, stop. You don't know what you're doing. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm saving your life. Because apparently, you're too stubborn to do it yourself. One of the other men spoke up. I say we hear the girl out. She's got fire. I like that. This isn't a democracy, the silver-haired man said. But he was studying me with interest. Tell me, Miss Lawson, why should we trust you? For all we know, you're working with the rival organization. If I was, I wouldn't be here. I'd be letting you kill your best asset. He smiled. Fair point. He turned to Rion. It seems your redemption project has developed a mind of her own. She's not a project, Rion started. I don't care what she is. The question is what we do with both of you. The room was silent, everyone waiting for the verdict. Finally, the silver-haired man spoke. Rion Kwon, you're stripped of your position as chief strategist. You'll report to me directly, and every decision you make will be reviewed by this council. One more mistake, and you're done. Do you understand? Yes, sir. And you? He looked at me. Are either very brave or very stupid. Probably both. But you've earned Kwon a second chance. Don't make me regret it. I won't. Now get out, both of you, before I change my mind. We didn't need to be told twice. Rion grabbed my hand and we practically ran from the building. Min-hee was waiting in the van, looking relieved when she saw us. "You're both alive. That's good." We got in, and she drove away from the Lotus Club at a speed that was definitely illegal. Once we were a safe distance away, Rion finally spoke. "That was the stupidest, most reckless thing anyone has ever done for me. You're welcome. You could have been killed. So could you. That was kind of the point." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "Why did you do it? After everything I've done to you, to your family, why would you risk your life for mine?" I turned to look at him. "Because someone needs to break this cycle. Someone needs to choose something other than revenge and guilt and death. And if it has to be me," I shrugged. "Then it's me." He pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. "I don't deserve you," he whispered against my hair. "Probably not. But you're stuck with me anyway." We went back to the safe house. Min-hee ordered takeout, Korean fried chicken and beer, and we sat around the living room, processing everything that had happened. "So what now?" Min-hee asked. "You're both alive, barely employed, and wanted by at least 3 different organizations. What's the plan?" "I need to go home," I said. "See my mother. Make sure Derek is adjusting okay. And after that?" I looked at Rion. "I don't know. Maybe I'll come back to Seoul. Finish what I started. There's still that dance program scholarship." "Is there?" Min-hee pulled out her phone. I looked into it. "That program doesn't exist. It was a front, probably set up by Min-ho to lure you here." My stomach dropped. "So I came to Seoul for nothing?" "Not for nothing," Rion said quietly. "You came here and changed everything. By nearly getting killed multiple times. By refusing to accept that things have to be the way they've always been. If you've made it this far, drop a comment and let me know. Should Jade stay in Seoul with Rion or head back to Seattle? Your choice might just inspire what happens next." Over the next week, Rion worked on rebuilding his position within the syndicate. He took on smaller assignments, proved his loyalty, slowly earning back trust. I helped where I could, running analysis, spotting patterns, doing the kind of strategic thinking that apparently came naturally to me. "You're good at this," Min-hee said one night while we were reviewing surveillance footage. "The strategy stuff. Have you ever thought about doing it professionally? What, becoming a criminal strategist? That's a career path?" She laughed. "When you put it that way. But seriously, you have the mind for it, and you're not emotionally compromised by years of trauma, which gives you an edge." I thought about it, about going back to Seattle, back to my old life of dead-end jobs and barely scraping by, or staying here, in this dangerous world that had somehow started to feel like home. But first, I had to face something I'd been avoiding. "I need to talk to Min-ho," I told Rion one morning. He looked up from his laptop. "What? Why?" "Because he lost his sister, and he deserves to hear that not everyone in this world is a monster, that there's still hope. Jade, he tried to have you killed. And then he let me go. That has to mean something." Rion rubbed his face. "This is a terrible idea. Most of my ideas are terrible. That's never stopped me before." He sighed. "Fine. But I'm coming with you." "No. This is something I need to do alone." "Absolutely not. Rion." I took his hands. "Trust me, please." He looked at me for a long moment. Then, reluctantly, he nodded. Min-hee helped me set up a meeting. Neutral ground, a tea house in Insadong, public enough to be safe. Min-ho was already there when I arrived. He looked tired, older than his years. "I wasn't sure you'd actually come," he said. "I wasn't sure I would either." I sat down across from him. A server brought tea, and we waited until she left before speaking. "Why are you here?" Min-ho asked. "To tell you that I'm sorry about your sister, about everything you've lost. He laughed bitterly. You're apologizing to me? That's rich. Someone has to break the cycle. Might as well be me. He studied me over his teacup. You really believe that? That any of this can be fixed? I have to. Because if I don't, then my father died for nothing. Your sister died for nothing. And all of this pain and violence was just pointless. He was quiet for a long time. Minji would have liked you. She always believed people could change. What about you? Do you believe that? I want to. But I've seen too much, done too much. Some things can't be undone. Maybe not, but new things can still be built. He set down his teacup. What exactly are you proposing? A truce between you and Rion, between your organization and his? No more revenge, no more blood, just peace. That's naive. Maybe. But is it any more naive than spending the rest of your life destroying yourself for revenge? He didn't answer. Your sister believed in people, I continued. Don't you think she'd want you to try? To be the person she thought you could be? His eyes were wet. I don't know how to be that person anymore. Then start small. Make one different choice. Then another. Eventually it becomes a pattern. And if I fail, then you fail. But at least you tried. We talked for another hour. I told him about my father, about Derek, about what it felt like to have your family ripped apart. He told me about Minji, her dreams, her laughter, the way she used to dance in the rain. By the time we left, we hadn't solved anything. But it felt like a start. When I got back to the safe house, Rion was pacing. You're back. Thank God, I was about to send the entire team to extract you. I'm fine. We just talked. And I think there might be hope. Not right away, but eventually. He pulled me into his arms. You're going to give me a heart attack with these stunts of yours. Good. Keeps you on your toes. That night, lying in bed, Rion finally asked the question I'd been dreading. When are you going back to Seattle? I don't know. Your mother needs you. Your brother needs you. They do. But I turned to face him. What if I came back? After I make sure they're okay, what if I came back to Seoul? Jade, I'm serious. I'm good at this. The strategy, the analysis. And I like it here. I like who I am here. This world will destroy you. It hasn't yet. Because I've been protecting you. But I won't always be able to. And when I'm not, then I'll protect myself. Rion, I'm not asking for your permission. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. He was quiet for a long moment. You're sure? I'm sure. Then I have something for you. He got up and opened a drawer, pulling out a small box. I was going to wait, but inside was a key. What's this? A key to this safe house, and to 2 others across the city, plus access codes to the secure network. He met my eyes. If you're really going to do this, if you're really going to be part of this world, then you need to be prepared. Min-hee can train you in surveillance and security. Jae-won can teach you hand-to-hand combat. And he smiled slightly. I'll teach you everything else. You mean it? You'll let me stay? I don't like it. Every instinct I have says this is dangerous and I should send you away. But he cupped my face in his hands. But you've made your choice. And I respect that, even if it terrifies me. I kissed him, deep and grateful and full of promise. 2 days later, I boarded a plane to Seattle. My mother burst into tears when she saw me at the airport. Derek was there too, thinner than I remembered, but smiling. You actually did it, he said, pulling me into a hug. You got me out. It wasn't just me. Over the next week, I told them everything. Well, almost everything. Some details were too dangerous to share. So you're going back, my mother said. It wasn't a question. Yes. To him? The man who killed your father. It's complicated, Mom. It always is. She took my hands. Your father. He knew the risks. He made his choice. Same as you're making yours now. I won't pretend to understand it, and I won't pretend to like it. But you're an adult, and you deserve to live your own life, even if it's dangerous. Especially if it's dangerous, because that's when we need to be bravest. I stayed in Seattle for 3 weeks, long enough to make sure Derek was adjusting, to reconnect with my mother, to visit my father's grave and say goodbye properly. I forgive you, I whispered to the headstone, for everything. I just hope you'd forgive me too. Then I boarded a plane back to Seoul. Rion was waiting at the airport, looking nervous. You came back, he said, like he couldn't quite believe it. I told you I would. I know, but I thought... He pulled me into his arms. I thought you'd realize how insane this is, and change your mind. Oh, I realize how insane it is. I'm doing it anyway. He kissed me, right there in the middle of Incheon Airport, while travelers flowed around us like water around stones. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. 6 months later, I was running my own operations. Small stuff at first. Information gathering, pattern analysis, strategic planning. But I was good at it. Really good. Min-hee became my best friend. Jae-won taught me how to fight, and how to take a punch. And Rion taught me how to think 3 steps ahead, how to read people, how to turn disadvantages into advantages. I also enrolled in an actual dance program at Korea National University of Arts, because I didn't come all this way just to give up on that dream. My life became a strange balance. Mornings at the dance studio, afternoons analyzing syndicate operations, evenings with Rion. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. One night, 6 months after I came back, Rion and I stood on the rooftop of his building, looking out over Seoul. Do you ever regret it? He asked. Coming back here? Every day, I admitted. And then I wake up and choose it again anyway. That's not very comforting. Would you prefer a lie? He laughed. No, I prefer this. You, exactly as you are. Even though I'm reckless and stubborn and never do what you tell me to? Especially because of that. He pulled a small box from his pocket. What's this? Open it. Inside was a ring. Simple, elegant, not flashy. Jade Lawson, he said quietly. You've turned my entire world upside down. You've made me question everything I thought I knew about myself. And you've somehow convinced me that maybe, just maybe, I'm capable of being something other than a monster. Rion, I'm not proposing. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Because I don't know if I can give you the kind of life you deserve. He took my hand. But I wanted you to know that if the world was different, if I was different, I would choose you. Every time. I looked at the ring, then at him, then back at the ring. You're an idiot, I said. I know. The world isn't different. You aren't different, but I'm choosing you anyway. I took the ring from the box and slipped it on my finger. And when you're ready to actually propose, I'll probably say yes, assuming you haven't gotten yourself killed by then. I'll do my best. He kissed me, and Seoul glittered below us like fallen stars. Was it perfect? No. Was it dangerous? Absolutely. But it was ours. And sometimes that's enough. 3 months later, I got a message from an unknown number. I'm leaving Seoul, starting over somewhere new. You were right. Minji would want me to try. Thank you. MH? I showed it to Rion. Minho's really leaving? He said, disbelief in his voice. Apparently. Because of you. Because you believed there was still something worth saving in him. We're all worth saving, I said. Some of us just need someone to remind us. He pulled me close, and I felt his heart beating against mine. My father died standing up for what he believed in. Minji died believing in people. And I was going to live, really live, by believing that even in the darkest places, even in the most broken people, there's still light worth fighting for. Even if it terrifies me. Even if I fail. Because in the end, that's what it means to be human. To keep choosing hope. Even when hope seems impossible. To keep choosing love. Even when love seems foolish. To keep choosing to believe. Even when belief seems naive. And as I stood on that rooftop, holding the hand of a man who killed my father but somehow became my future, I realized something. The dancer he couldn't forget wasn't Minji. It was me. And I was okay with that. The end. If this story moved you, hit that subscribe button. More twisted romances, dark secrets, and impossible choices are coming your way. Because sometimes, the best love stories are the ones that shouldn't work, but do anyway.